pyramid. I know it doesn't look like that because I'm too damn close to it, but I wanted to show you something. And I didn't realize this, and I never read this in any books. They never told me that these rocks, especially the ones on the bottom of the pyramid, are full of crustaceans, literally chock full of crustaceans from the ocean. But anyways, all these giant stones here are literally pulled directly from the ocean. So some people are like, oh, they brought the rocks from here. No, this is directly from the ocean. So that adds another layer of mystery of how the hell did these people 7,000 years ago take these giant rocks from the bottom of the ocean and then bring them here? And then so many of them, 2 million of them, right? And I'm not joking, all of them are the same. They're all made with these crustaceans, just full of stuff from the earth. Isn't that crazy? Why is that not in the history books? Why does it say that they come from this quarry somewhere? That's not from a quarry, that is from the ocean. Then I guess maybe that quarry could have also been in the ocean. That would make sense. Can you explain? Okay, I know we literally just talked about how these stones are made from coral reef in the middle of the ocean. And then I kind of look down and I see that this same rock is here. It's literally right here. So this was the bottom of the ocean. This entire Giza Plateau was clearly a part of the bottom of the ocean. So these rocks didn't come from miles and miles away. And they did come from the bottom of the ocean, but this is the bottom of the ocean. It's right here. You can see all the crustaceans. You can see the ancient life forms all over the floor. And it is deep as you could imagine. And then you go to the rocks, and it's the exact same rocks. Look, full of crustaceans, you see? Full of ancient sea life. And then you go over to the wall, and it's the same. Full of crustaceans and ancient sea life. So I guess that kind of solves that mystery. They just got the rocks right fucking here. Oh look, they probably even dig them up right here. You can see the squares where they've been trying to dig. That's so interesting. God, I should be an archaeologist.
Famous story in all of history is for some reason looked on as a made-up myth. Can we prove if the Great Flood actually happened? This is history. Shit happens. People, typically the victors, record what happens. Future generations read those records and accept them as fact. The more often a certain event gets recorded, especially among cultures that had no influence among each other, the more likely it is that it actually happened. Starting with the most popular book in the world, the Bible, with the story of Noah's Ark. The world gets flooded, and man is told by God to build a giant ship to save every animal on the planet and rebuild civilization from scratch. Hindu mythology has the story of Manu, who's warned of an impending worldwide flood, builds a boat to survive, and keeps humans from going extinct. Ancient Mesopotamia shares the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was allegedly written before the Bible, where a guy is told a global flood is coming, builds a vessel to save humanity. In Greek mythology, Zeus gets angry, floods the earth, Prometheus helps a man and his wife build a boat and restart civilization. Chinese legends have the Great Flood of Gunyu. Mayans had the civilization resetting flood of the god Huracan. The Incas from South America that predate the Mayans had the Ulu Pachacuti, a great flood that wiped out a race of unruly people. Native American tribes all had their own versions of a great flood that cleansed the earth. Polynesian cultures have the story of Niu'u, who built an ark and sea gods flooding the earth, among many other similar tales. African cultures have a variety of flood myths with the same thematic elements. Even Aboriginal Australians have legends like the Bundaba flood with the exact same story arc, all of which end with select chosen ones surviving the flood and rebuilding society on earth. Dude, these stories of floods are obviously just made up myths that all coincidentally share the same plot. If they were real, they'd be in my history textbook. We're not allowed to question history, bro. We obviously already know everything. Well, it's a good thing they didn't just find an archaeological site in the shape of a massive ship in a similar location and age as some of the recorded flood stories. Oh wait, they did. Uncovered in Turkey. 3D scans done on site revealed a man-made structure beneath, with remains of wood in the shape of a boat and measurements similar to that of the flood myths, along with fossilized rivets and petrified deck timber, materials typically only used to build boats. Then you have countless places around the world with geological evidence of immense flooding, hundreds of times more powerful than any water flow we've ever witnessed. You've got the Kamas Prairie in Idaho. The Dry Falls Formation in Washington and Dry Creek in Montana have landscapes that were carved with water flows 10 to 20 times greater than every single river on Earth combined. Intense water erosion around the Sphinx in Egypt. The Sahara Desert is filled with these ripples, potentially indicative of colossal, widespread flooding. Same with Warburton Creek in Australia, which has even got salt deposits. Geologists found evidence of intense flooding along the Yellow River in China. Aerial scans reveal monumental flood progression throughout all of South America. Fossils of fish found as high as the Himalayas Himalayan mountains, all of which has only become visible to us within the last 100 years through technology like satellites. So maybe historians are just too stubborn to rewrite their books after clinging to them for so long. This all leads to what is called the Younger Dryas Impact Theory, a proposed global event that caused significant shifts in human culture around 11,000 BC. I mean, it's clearly not 100% proven, just speculation with a mountain of evidence, which is in a sense what all of history is. None of us were there when any of this happened, so we have to look at historic records, archaeology, and geological evidence and make rational conclusions from that. But you Google debunkers, feel free to stitch this into your own little debunking video, because I invite all perspectives on every topic. The question remains, why would they even want to hide historic discoveries like this? I don't know about you, but I feel like the idea of an inevitable civilization resetting global cataclysm wouldn't sit well with anyone and likely cause worldwide anarchy. Even billionaire John D. Rockefeller, who funded the General Education Board in 1903, is infamously quoted as saying, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers." So when you have countless retellings of the same story spanning multiple cultures around the world who never made contact with each other, archaeological evidence that may or may not be remnants of artifacts from these stories, and geological patterns that align with the events that took place in these stories, it's obviously just a myth. Yet not a single record of the Egyptians actually building the pyramids themselves, easily the greatest achievement of their civilization. And somehow that's a historical fact, but this isn't. What do I know? I'm just a dumb online misinformation theorist, right? I prefer
Vatican City is an inspirational place. You don't need to be Catholic or even religious to appreciate the architecture, the art, and the city's historical significance. But there is a place within the Vatican that's rarely seen. Hidden beneath the city is an underground fortress, inaccessible to the public and protected by armed guards and state-of-the-art security. The secret apostolic archives. Within the stone and steel reinforced walls are vaults, climate-controlled rooms, and over 50 miles of shelves. And on those shelves are countless texts, relics, and artifacts collected by the church for over 1,000 years. And one of the most intriguing objects hidden in the archive is called the chronovisor, a device that can view events anywhere and any time in history. And for years, its existence was just a rumor. No proof of the chronovisor was ever found. But a book released by a Vatican priest would change all that. Let's find out why.
There's a man who just set himself on fire outside of the courthouse where Trump is starting his trial, and they are already trying to call him a conspiracy theorist, and his whole manifesto is online. I have already gone through his entire manifesto since he just set himself on fire not even 40 minutes to an hour ago, and I feel like I need to get in front of the story before they try to deem this a conspiracy theorist related idea. Not only did he say he was going to do it, he left a step-by-step on his own website. Literally look at the title of this. It says apparent conspiracy theorist sets himself on fire outside of Trump trial. A man who set himself on fire outside of court moments after a jury was seated in former President Trump's civil fraud trial apparently promoted wide-ranging conspiracy theorists. This is the man. I am going to read to you his manifesto. And the thing about it is, how many people have you seen in the news being killed or killing themselves because of conspiracy theory? I feel like you need to pay attention. If the news is saying something is a conspiracy, it's probably not. I have a feeling they're going to try to take his manifesto down. So here is the link at the bottom if you want to hurry up and go read it, but I'm going to tell you what it is. So he released this right before he killed himself. And the title is, I have set myself on fire outside the Trump trial. My name is Max. I can't pronounce that. And he says, I am an investigative researcher who has set himself on fire outside of the Trump trial in Manhattan. This extreme act of protest is to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. You guys, he did this to call attention to this. He said, we are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of our other allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. He even said that they would call this a conspiracy theory. He said, there are proof of conspiracy. If you investigate this mountain of research, you will prove them too. If you learn a great deal about Ponzi schemes, you will discover that our life is a lie. And if you follow the story in the link below, you will discover the rotten truth of post-truth America. I don't have time to go through all of this, but just look at what he says. He talks about Bitcoin, right? And then he says the March 2023 bank failures were all intentional. The banks were used to move out stolen Ponzi money, which he's referring to Bitcoin, I'm assuming. And he said this signals that they are no longer dumping cash in to keep the cryptocurrency Ponzi afloat, and that it will still soon go insolvent, as all Ponzi's must. It says when the Ponzi scheme goes insolvent, it will take down half the stock market with it. The perpetrators use their major companies to pipe into the blockchain so they can funnel money out from the crypto exchanges. This includes Google. Apple, PayPal, Facebook, Disney, Walmart, Target, Invel, Zoom, and countless others. It is a Ponzi scheme so large that it could create global inflation, which is why the price of Bitcoin has been remarkably leading the indicator for inflation rates. Victims who bought Cryptcoin don't realize their money has already been stolen, so their money gets doubly counted by the victims and the criminals who stole. I'm gonna come back and keep reading it, but does that not make sense? Everyone is trying to figure out what's up with inflation and why we're sending money off. It's probably because of the cryptocurrency failure.
Fascinating hypothesis or theory as to what the pyramid actually was.
What I thought it was in 1998, which was a power plant, I describe it as an electron harvester. If you look at the details, the facts of their design and what the ancient Egyptians were doing, the northern shaft has an appearance that is similar to a waveguide. You need microwaves to go through a waveguide. What frequency of microwave was it? You look at the dimensions and you come up with a match for hydrogen. But it doesn't come in as hydrogen. There are two chemicals that are introduced into the chamber. The chemicals mix and they boil off hydrogen. So if we want to collect energy that is in a gaseous medium and the electrons in the hydrogen are pumped up to a higher energy state, introduce a microwave signal, direct it through that gas, and stimulate the emission of the energy, collect that energy, and shoot it up the southern shaft.
These are the symptoms that I had that I did not realize were related to high levels.
Something's not right, ladies and gentlemen. Something is not right. I'm about to show you guys something that just doesn't sit well with me. Wait till the end because it's going to blow your mind, guys. You know how they say that everything we eat is fake? Like fake meat, fake freaking fruit, fake everything, right? Dude, I'm about to show you guys that's 100% true. Yesterday, I get a watermelon, right? I dice it up and I leave it overnight because I'm going to take it in the morning. That's what I'm going to eat in the morning, right? Whatever. I eat it and I leave 4 pieces and I come to work and like I just leave it sitting on the table, right? All day. When I come back from work, it looks exactly the same, dude. It's just been out, right? Not only that, before I leave, there's like a tree, right? There's a little pot, like a tree, like a big old thing right outside of the door. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave it for the birds. I'm going to leave this watermelon for the birds because there's hella birds here, you know? What I'm about to show you guys is going to blow your mind, and you guys need to tell me what's good. What do you guys think about this shit? This is wild. Watch. I'm walking over to it right now. Keep in mind, I threw this out. It was there all day, all night. And the crazy part, it's untouched. Not the ants, not the bugs, not the birds. And it looks the same. Bro, look at this. Look at this, untouched, bro. Why is water? I thought water, dude. If I was a bird, I would eat this up already. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Not touched by the bugs, ants, beetles, worms, anything, or the birds. Like, what is this?
It's funny. NASA, please, I am begging you, put these ignorant flirts to bed. Why don't you just zoom in and show them one person there and then one person down here? I mean, come on. You're clearly up high enough to see curvature. So just take your zoom lenses and zoom in on someone in Canada standing right side up, and then zoom in on someone down here in South America upside down. That's it. I mean, it's really just as simple, NASA. Just zoom in on R2 up here in the North Pole, and then zoom out, and then zoom in on Mr. Skywalker here down in Antarctica. Case solved. You prove your legitimacy. You prove to all these flirfs that the money you are getting, the $70 million a day, is going towards beautiful things. I mean, I think the flirfs would even pipe down if you would just show them R2 upright and then Mr. Skywalker sideways. That's all you need. Just sideways would work. Sideways. I just don't understand. Legitimize yourself, NASA. Do it. People are doubting you. Prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. I know you're good. You're good, NASA. I love you. And if you guys just can't get enough of NASA's videos, there's a whole lot of them here at this app.
69 moon rover comes quick, efficient, equipped with your own lawn furniture. Duct tape option. Don't forget your action packed Mickey Thompson sticks in the rear with dune buggy cups. Not to mention state-of-the-art, second to only backwoods Hibbley antennas with tennis balls. In a handy analog radar buster. And the always much sought after front end with an indestructible polypropagnol design fit for a king. Umbrella inverted is extra. 1969. Today,
Another thing that is important to say, that if you're saying that radiation is dangerous to instrumentation, it's going to be dangerous to bodies. But I'm saying even if you don't say that, yeah, he did say people before you send people, but you could say, imply, I'm not saying this is true, but by what he's saying, that what he's saying is that instrumentation would be damaged and that would be dangerous.
Well, and he also included people. Before we sent people through this rewrite.
But it could be because they would lose their instrumentation. You could interpret that. I'm just trying to be as generous as possible.
You're overly generous.
Okay, here it is. My name is Kelly Smith, and I work on navigation and guidance for Orion. Before we can send astronauts in space on Orion, we have to test all the systems. Only one way to know if we got it right: fly it into space. For Orion's first flight, no astronauts will be aboard. The spacecraft is loaded with sensors to record and measure all aspects of the flight in every detail. We're headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belt, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this can harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels. For scientists to study, we must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
So the challenges have not been solved in 2014? So how could they have been solved in 1961?
The thing is, even if they did solve it back then, how did they do it? This is the question. So this is what we know about the spaceship, what we know about the Apollo 11, what we know about the shielding that it had.
They had 1/8 of an inch of aluminum. Now when you get a dental x-ray, they use 1/4 inch lead. And so that's for 1/24 of a second. They would be in that for an hour to an hour and a half going to the moon, and an hour to an hour and a half coming back. So
what would that be the equivalent to, roughly, in terms of like x-rays?
It would be 100 times more than a lethal dose, according to their own reports, which are documented at Sabrel.gov. All for free. You go on there and watch the videos and read the documentation.
Okay, and to be clear, how many people have gone through that, supposedly?
Well,
who was the first ones? The first one, there was an orbit of the moon, a manned orbit of the moon before there was a land.
Yeah, there were allegedly 24 people who have allegedly gone through it to the moon and back, but the footage we uncovered shows them faking being halfway to the moon from Earth orbit. So it proves that they could not even go halfway to the moon because they're faking being halfway to the moon.
Well, whatever that footage was, though, in all fairness, that footage wasn't released. Right, that footage was found footage, correct?
That was outtakes of them faking being halfway to the moon, which even my greatest critic agrees that is them faking being halfway to the moon. And they're doing it from Earth orbit, and it's dated 2 days into the flight.
Yeah, we'll show the video, but if I was going to steel man it, what I would say is, if I'm training these guys to film things, and they're training all day long to do a bunch of different things, one of the things I would do is to train them how to film the Earth from the moon. And to simulate that, I would say what you can do is black out all the light when you're in low Earth orbit. Focus on one of those circular windows. Put the transparency or whatever it is in front of the window and practice that way.
Except it's dated 2 days and 3 days into the flight when they're supposed to be halfway to the moon.
Damn, my steel man's not working. It's new people today that are in the scientific community that believe the moon landing's real. So you have to approach it from the perspective of how they're going to debunk your debunk. Let's look at the footage first, because I think we're beating around the bush. The footage is so shocking that you immediately go, okay, what is this? Like, what is this? I just want to know what logically could this be? The only thing that I could think of that was logically would be that they're practicing. Oh, this is one when you compare back and forth, right?
Correct. I mean, there's more.
Or isn't there one of just the actual video that we can watch?
Well, you could go to Sabrel.com, click on A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, or go to the Moonman video links at Sabrel.com and pull this up, Smoking Gun. I just gave you the time cues on the most significant part where you could do the side-by-side comparison.
And the side-by-side comparison is for?
Well, on the left, Neil Armstrong claims this is 130,000 miles out. He claims that the camera lens is at the glass, and that's the Earth floating in space. Which on the right-hand side are the outtakes that we got an unedited reel of the special effects shot by accident. And the lights come up and you see...
Okay, so this is the exact same size image. Roughly the same distance. So I really...
On the left, he claims that this is the part they showed to the public, that that's the Earth floating in space, halfway to the moon looking back. And then on the right is the outtakes where the lights come up and you see that the camera's really at the back of the spacecraft, and that's part of the Earth outside of a circular window with a little crescent piece molded in front of it, and that's the take on the left-hand side. You're about to see Michael Collins break down part of the...
So this is a visual effect. This is what I want everybody to hear, because this is where... Okay, hold on a second. This is where it gets really weird. So they're saying they're 130,000 miles away, so they're in deep space.
So that proves it's the window. You see that?
We used to think that we're looking out into space at the Earth, but now we realize there's people standing in front of it, so there's other stuff going on. So something out there's you're filming a room, and then
that's literally the window. It's a window. Yeah, that's an arm getting in front of the window. That's an outtake they never showed, because it shows that it's a fake shot.
Okay, but do you think that that is just a piece of the Earth in a circular window? Why do you think they put something over the window that represent the Earth?
Another photographer believes it's like a transparency of there's the circular
one. There's play out. Let's let this play out. So if
this see the window, the point is it's the window.
Back it up a little bit.
They're using the window to create a 1-foot model of the Earth.
But then they're using the darkness of the cabin by blocking out all the windows, and at least it looks like it's space.
Exactly, it makes it look like the Earth is floating in space, so we have them faking being halfway to the moon, which means they cannot go halfway to the moon, and here we are, 54 years later, and they still cannot go halfway to the moon. That's why there's mannequins orbiting the moon. They said in 2014, in 2018, they would have people orbiting the moon. They were 100% behind schedule.
Yeah, but that's politicians. They lie about everything. And they might have had grand plans and didn't get the funding. But this is shocking, weird stuff. Because it's hard to explain. It's hard to come up with a rational explanation of what this could be. But we should play the audio. So they say in the audio, we're 130,000 miles away, right?
And then they also say, which is another lie, that there's only one window that faces the Earth and it's filled up with the TV camera, meaning the lens would have to be right up against the window to see that, but the camera's really at the back of the spacecraft with all the lights off. Let's play that. Seeing part of the Earth outside of the window, it's very ingenious.
That is the first time I've ever heard of the conspiracy that it is actually a part of the Earth.